Support for Short Stops is presented by the Caylum Trading Institute. Check out our website at www.cayluminstitute.com. On today's episode,
when you meet that point where you say to yourself, okay, I'm the only person that's stopping me from succeeding, I'm going to stop doing all the stuff that I don't need to be involved with, the trades I don't need to be involved with, or the acts, strategies, or whatever it is, bad habits I don't need to be involved with. The moment you can do that is when you see a breakthrough for yourself.
call it what you want, a game, an experiment, a gamble. But stock trading in the global financial markets to us is a business. Every day you're surrounded by the noise. Buy, sell, hold, buy more. And we're going to quiet it down and filter out the best trading strategies, tips, and stock picks. You want information on how to find your next bagger or home run? You'll find it right here on Short Stops. Okay, I'm jumping off from last 2 weeks ago. This is episode 28, and with me is one of the senior traders and coaches here at SMB Capital. I have Carlton Bryan with me. Hi, Carlton. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you mentioned that you are head of risk management here. So you started in 2009. When did you decide that you wanted to be a trader?
Always followed the markets itself, through high school and into college. I have my laptop with me while I was in class and, checking the quotes, making sure, I was watching the market. And then I go crazy when my signal would drop in class. I wouldn't be able to get any quotes itself. So, just from high school itself, and it was started from one of my friends. But the crazy thing about that was that when I started trading, I didn't know how to trade.
Okay.
Just looking back at it, that's certain experiences that I went through. So, for example, trading to me was trading on earnings. So basically, what I would do.
Interesting.
Yes,
okay.
Very interesting. So basically, what I would do is find out what stock's going to be earning, and I would either get long or short into earnings. And this was just based on research that I did online through the various websites or whatever have you, whether they possibly going to beat or miss. So if I thought, the earnings seemed positive, I would get long. And if I seemed that it was going to be, pretty bad, or, if they had some type of change in fundamentals, would be, I'd go short.
Okay.
But you have to remember that just because a stock reports positive earnings doesn't mean that it's going to go up.
Of course.
And vice versa for, if you think your stock, necessarily reports bad earnings, it's going to go down. So, of course, with that strategy, over time, I had some, really big wins, and then, of course, to be followed by some losses, and it was just kind of like an emotional roller coaster because it's not consistent, because there's no real consistent strategy there. So it was more of an emotional roller coaster. But it was one key experience where I actually got long into a particular stock, and I used the phrase "lost my shirt." And for that experience, for me, was really the life changer. Where I said, "Okay, I'm going about this the wrong way. Stop trading. Shut down my account." And I said, I have to seek the right way to go about this. And that's how I went through as far as just self-empowerment, self-knowledge, finding different methodologies of people that are actually trading, looking for successful people. And then actually stumbled upon SMB, started to follow the blog, follow the material that they put out. And that was it. The rest was history from there.
So we know that the process of hiring here is a little bit tedious. What do you think it was about you that made Mike go, yeah, let's get this guy, let's bring him in?
You have to be willing to be, one, persistent, okay, show definite interest in the market, show that you're coachable.
Okay,
that's one of the biggest things here, is that it's not looked at as individuals, it's more of a team type of effort here. So when we're trading, it's more of a team effort when we're trading a specific stock or symbol or strategy. So we trade together. So you have to make sure that the person or the individual's personality meshes well with others on the floor.
Got it.
That's one of the biggest things. And just having that entrepreneurial spirit and just a real love for the markets.
When you started the trading process here, what did you feel was the most challenging part?
Dealing with bad habits that I have built over the years.
Okay.
And kind of shedding those.
Could you name some of those bad habits?
Over trading, being in trades that I'm not supposed to be in, and the fact of sitting there in front of the computer and feeling that I have to do something because I'm sitting there in front of the computer. Throughout day one, there's different exercises that we work on to make you understand the type of mindset that you have to have, how you should approach the market, and just because you had a bad day or lost money in the market doesn't mean you did something wrong. Because remember, with everything we do as a trader, it's probabilities that we play, right? But as long as the strategy that you have is consistent and it shows that it makes money, and it's scalable, then you'll be fine. So just being able to deal with the down days, being wrong, and being able to reassess yourself, what you're doing if you're not seeing any, if you're running through somewhat of a bad streak, being able to assess yourself. Let's say, okay, I've been up negative 3 days in a row. I need to take a step back.
Okay.
And really assess what I've been doing. Is it something I've personally been doing, or is it maybe the market, or is it maybe my strategy? Because what happens is traders tend to get into a negative type of mindset, and it tends to snowball.
Yes.
After you get into a negative streak. So being able to assess your step outside and really assess what's going on in that situation and take the step to be proactive in making the necessary changes that I need to.
How long do you feel was the process for you to develop all of this information, to develop kind of trading personality that you have today?
I would say, it varies per person, per each person. We have people that just, are, I would say, can do in 14 to 18 months.
Okay.
Itself. We have people that take a couple of years.
All right.
Some people that take in longer than that, but it's really, like I said, just being persistent with the market. And when you meet that point where you say to yourself, okay, I'm the only person that's stopping me from succeeding, I'm going to stop doing all the stuff that I don't need to be involved with, or the trades I don't need to be involved with, or the acts, strategies, or whatever it is, bad habits I don't need to be involved with. The moment you can do that is when you see a breakthrough for yourself.
Okay. As a risk manager, why is risk management so critical? Because a lot of people back home, usually they just jump into a trade. They don't really calculate exactly how much risk they're putting into their execution. And we are well aware that that is critical to trading success. So for you, what is key?
Key is having a plan for your trade before you even enter the trade. Understanding how much you can lose on a daily time period, how much you can lose on a weekly time period, how much you can lose on a monthly time period, just talking about for day traders. And understanding, for your setups that you're taking, or the trades that you're taking, how much I can actually risk on each individual trade, okay? And understanding how I can scale up into my trade, because great, it's wonderful to be in a trade in itself, but we have to understand as we grow as a trader, you have to scale in size. And you have to be able to scale into your position. So understanding how you scale into your positions, or add size to the position, and how you scale out of a position, meaning how do you take off size of your initial position itself. So it's many of those factors. Just being understand how much you can risk per trade, how you can risk per setup, understanding the times of day when your strategies work better than others, or understanding the theme for each day itself. So for me, you can look at a trading day and not just one day, but 3 days in one. Because you can have the open as one day, you can have the midday as day 2, and the close is day 3. You can attack them differently. So it really it boils down to just understanding the fundamentals of how your trades work, when they work, and how to pretty much scale up and stay within your risk limits.
Something that back home a lot of people sometimes experience is the inability to do things like what you said, scaling in and scaling out. For them, it's all in now and then sell the same exact amount. I mean, how important is it to learn how to sell half, sell a portion?
Very important, because that's how you get to one of the next levels of trader. It's really The saying that you have to crawl before you can walk.
Mm-hmm.
You have to walk before you run, and you have to be able to run before you can really sprint and go out there and race. So understanding that there has to be certain, I would say, a checklist that you have to go through.
Okay.
Before you can build into a position. So, for example, like a pilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a pilot to take off, yes, of course, he has a co-pilot there, and whoever else in there in the cockpit with him, and they have to go through a pre-flight check before they can actually take off. So, for example, if you're taking on a trade, you have to go through your pre-flight check. Okay. Once you're in the air, you're constantly just looking for either if it's a better route, depending on the wind and speed and all those other factors, just like in trading, because we cannot predict what's going to happen while we're in the trade because we're in a trade, we want to get it from point A to point B, but we're not exactly sure what's going to happen from point A to point B. But we have to pretty much think about the different scenarios of what can happen and what needs to take place. So when you're in your trade, you enter, you think about, okay, I need to have A, B, C before I can add to this position, or I have to, if A happens and B happens but not C, then I can only add, instead of adding a full tier to my position, I can only add an additional half of a tier. So it's really having a detailed plan or trade strategy. So that's why it's very key to have a great amount of playbooks. So even though it's one strategy, and say, okay, this is my one strategy, but you have the many different nuances of that strategy. So that's why it's very important, just repetition to keep kind of ripping through those and doing those.
Personally, for you, what are your best setups?
I would say bracelet consolidation.
Okay. What if the market does not call for that? What do you do?
So one of the key things I say to the new and developing traders, I ask them first, start out, so why were the dinosaurs extinct?
Why?
Because they weren't able to adapt to their environment.
Okay.
Right? So they weren't able to adapt to the environment. So the same thing for a trader, you have to be able to adapt to your environment. That's where you have to be proficient and not say, every single thing, but you have to be able to attack the market in different market environments. So there might be a market where you can pay breakouts all the time and they work and the consolidation work, or it might be a market where it's just range bound, so you're just strictly doing support and resistance, or it's more of a momentum based market where it's more move to move. So really understanding the themes and having pretty much the tools you need to attack the market.
Got it.
And being able to understand and take notice when changes are taking place in the market.
In terms of working with young traders, since I'm sure you do that often, what are the most difficult, or let's start with the most common first. What are the most common bad habits that you see that it's like the first thing you attack when they come in?
Over trading, and they have a false sense that they know everything.
Okay.
So
what do you do when they have a false sense that they know everything? I mean, I'm sure that you get experienced traders, you get new traders, amateur ones. How do you show them, or how do you humble them?
Numbers.
Okay.
The numbers don't lie at all.
Yes.
They're not necessarily looking at P&L, because you can make money doing the wrong things. But when your luck runs out or whatever it is runs out, then the weakness will be shown. So going through the numbers, really breaking down your trade results, the time that your winning trades are held, losing trades are held, your hit rate, just going through many different things, and just the numbers don't lie. They never lie. So going through your numbers, and that's one of the biggest things as a trader, and what Dr. S helps us with, what Bella helps us with, is evaluating numbers and crunching your numbers is very big.
You keep a record of everything that you do.
You have to keep a record of everything. It's keeping a record, and not only just keeping a record, but keeping a detailed journal with your record.
Wonderful. Some people are too lazy to do that, unfortunately.
So I'm sorry, excuse my language or my.
Go ahead.
You're here to be the greatest trader possible. So to be the greatest trader possible, you have to make the sacrifice and do the things that great traders do. So it's like anything with life. Anybody who's become a master at anything that they do, they've put in the time, they put in the work that it takes to get there. And some people start to put in the work, and they start to see a little bit of success, and then they ease off the gas pedal, and you have to realize that you have to stay consistent with the work that you do, because you'll either stay stagnant or just fall off. So it's really just grinding it out and giving it 150%. And if you give half-assed preparation and results to the work, or time you put into your training, you get half-assed results pretty much. So it's pretty much what you put into it is what you get out of it. So understanding that.
Sometimes there's this misconception that everybody thinks, I want to be a trader because I don't want to work, a regular 9-to-5 job. I want to be a trader so I can just do this and that and have this so-called work-life balance. I don't think they really see the amount of work that you put into it.
So you have to understand that a lot of traders actually spend more time doing preparation than actually trading, because if you think about it, if you're trading, you're just really just kind of hitting the buttons. Maybe you want to, depending how active you are, if you're scalping or whatever it is, it's a little bit different. But for the most part, you do more preparation than you do actually trading.
That's a really interesting point. That is a really interesting point, because a lot of people just assume that it's just sitting in front of a computer, buying, selling. But you're right. It's the preparation that matters the most, and that's the one that you really need to focus on. Here, do you trade something that you have not prepared for?
We have, so like for right now with our trainees, we are in a period of higher volatility.
Yes.
And they're just starting out. So, for them, we have to make sure we stay, advertise for them to stay within their risk constraints, but we want them to get exposure to things that they haven't, been able to trade before. Or specific, strategies. But the biggest thing is you can do things trade things that you haven't traded before, but it's all within your risk management and knowing what type of setup it is, or how much I can actually allocate for this trade.
Because sometimes, you'll see a stock that you didn't specifically plan for, but you see that there is a level of activity.
Because it all now, even though it's a stock that you didn't plan for, but it's still a setup that's in your playbook that you've already pretty much mastered.
Got it. Yes.
You know that, but each stock, they trade a little bit differently. I think of stocks as people itself. They have their own personalities. So they might trade a little bit differently, but it's understanding the stock, its personality, and how it usually trades.
Something that Dr. Steenbarger mentioned before was that it's really important that even if you are trading quite well, or you are successful in terms of how much money you're making and the process, it's still important to continue developing yourself constantly. So
you have to, because that's the only way you can grow. And that's like, as I told you have to before, and Dr. S is great. That's, a great example is you have to put in the work no matter how successful you are, because you should be constantly growing as a trader.
Because I'm sure that at some point, some people might get complacent. They make a certain amount of money and then they tell themselves that I'm good. This is working for me, so I don't really need to. It's sort of the myth that you don't need to fix something that's not broken.
So this goes to the fact that we were talking early before for a few minutes, and you said, this is why we sometimes hire, or look towards athletes.
Yes.
Because they're competitive by nature. So when you have people that are extremely competitive, they tend to always try to improve themselves. So you look at people like, I study, people that have been very successful. So for like someone like Kobe Bryant, the reason why he's been so successful, for his practice every day, he shoots 10,000 shots a day.
Okay.
So if you shoot 10,000 shots a day, how many shots is that per week? How many shots is that per month?
Yes.
So when the lights come on for game time, you're ready to go. Oh, I've done this before. I've seen this. This is nothing to me. And, him and I believe another player, Derek Fisher, the point guard at the time, they would play one-on-one basketball full court by themselves the whole game. So when you actually get to the game, this is light work for you. It's you've already done this before. It's nothing. It's just it's nothing. There's no freezing and no deer in headlights. I've done this before. I've seen this before.
Got it. I remember Mike had an example in One Good Trade about a trader that he called AI, specifically because he didn't believe in practice. So this Allen Iverson reference was really funny.
So for an example, we had traders that that doing I'm not going to actually talk about as far as dollar amounts, but doing extremely well.
Okay.
And they're still in the pursuit of trying to improve themselves and seeing where, where's different avenues of how else that they can make money. So it's really having that competitive nature, trying to always improve, trying always to be better. As I said, I don't advertise just for athletes at all, no.
Yeah.
Just for people that have that drive, that competitive nature, that willing to learn, all the aspects of a great trader.
How do you know when you have reached that level that you can consider yourself like you are a successful trader?
So I would say the successful trader happens as the letter U. All right. The reason why I say that is you lose a lot of money when you first start.
Okay.
Okay. You start there. Lose less money, right? Then you get to the bottom, right? Then you stop losing money. Okay.
Okay.
So you stop losing money. You get to the bottom, so we start to the top, back to the U, so you stop losing money. So then you get to the point where you, stop losing money, you're understanding what setups work for you, where you make money, so you start to make a little bit of money itself, right? And then from there, you say, I have my setups, I'm somewhat consistent now, and I'm actually consistent now, so what I'm going to start to do is start to scale up from here, okay? So I'm scaling up. I've had multiple risk bumps itself, and I'm building out my strategies at this point. And then build out your strategies, and then from there you become extremely successful. So it's not really a big difference from the trader that has just found consistency and making money. The only thing is really having the confidence and then sizing up, because the same trades that you're taking, yes, you're building out your playbooks and different setups, but the same trades that you were taking with 100 shares starting out with 400 shares or 500 shares, you just compound and do the same thing and take with 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20, 25, 50,000 shares.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Yes, you have to account for sizing and slipping and stuff like that, but the general concept is, the progression as a trader and getting to that point where you're consistent, be consistently profitable.
I've heard that word over and over again. I've read it over and over again in the books of Dr. Steenberger and Mike. So I think we can definitely establish the fact that consistency in trading is crucial.
Yeah, it's if you don't, because I would say I would rather you give me someone that can make $25 a day every day than a trader that makes 1,000, loses 1,000, makes 1,500, loses 1,000, makes 2,000, then loses 1,500. I'd rather have someone that can have $25 a day. If you can do $25 a day, you can do 50. 50, you can do 100. 100, you can do 200, 200, 400, 400,
exactly.
800.
Yeah.
From there, 1600. It goes up from there. So it's really just find that consistency, and that's it. And just advocating to push yourself out of the comfort zone. So when you're actually outside of your comfort zone, when you start to get that butterfly feeling in your stomach. You have more size on than you feel comfortable with. You feel a little uneasy. I push for the guys to get to that feeling, because you have to constantly be in a sphere or in a mindset where you're always pushing yourself, and you have to be comfortable having that feeling.
Carlton, I really want to thank you for this impromptu interview, because it's really different when you get the perspective of someone who has been there, who has started out there, and is now officially trading other young traders to kind of go through the same experiences that you have. I mean, obviously 9-10 years of being here has done wonders in the knowledge that you have to share. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.